Professor Archibald Pendergast Puddlewick believed he had perfected the definition of harmless mischief. Unfortunately for the rest of the Arcadian College of Applied Thaumaturgy, Madame Vesperina Cranklethorpe believed the same thing, only louder, brighter, and with at least twice as many glittering explosions. Neither wizard would admit the other had ever landed a better joke, so the semester's first faculty meeting was less an academic gathering and more the ceremonial lighting of a very long fuse. The spark came during tea break. Puddlewick, noting that Vesperina's prized violet robes never so much as wrinkled, slipped a single, almost invisible sigil under her chair when she stood to refill her cup. The embroidery on her hem burst into flawless imitations of a dozen quacking ducks. The hall echoed. Students poked their heads in, and the Dean of Disciplinary Prophecies spilled hot chai into his lap. The spell ended only when Vesperina, cheeks flaming, stomped her foot and muttered the counter word. She smiled sweetly at Puddlewick. "Adorable," she said. "You've been taking lessons from children's birthday clowns." Over the next week, she plotted. On a windswept Wednesday, Puddlewick awoke to find his famously luxuriant beard serenading him with the complete aria cycle from The Gnomish Lament, each strand plucking itself like a harp string. Whenever he tried to cast, the tempo quickened and the volume rose. By mid-morning, half the college was humming along. Students tossed coins. The dean ordered a muffling charm that failed when the beard shifted to bagpipe accompaniment. The scoreboard now read, Cranklethorpe won. Puddlewick won. Naturally, both wizards claimed a moral victory. Their colleagues began placing bets, but only the caretaker, old Mr. Grunt, seemed worried. "Pranks are like cheese," he muttered, while sweeping up spilled confetti. "Leave 'em out too long, and things start to stink." Phase 2 began at the annual spellcasting showcase, a formal affair attended by donors in velvet hats. Puddlewick volunteered to demonstrate a cutting-edge invisibility veil. Moments before he stepped on stage, Vesperina twitched her fingers. The fabric of reality around Puddlewick's trousers winked out of existence. Garments gone, legs starkly revealed, the proud professor strode into the spotlight wearing bunny-patterned underdrawers. He bowed, cast his veil. Excellent work, really. Then heard the audience's collective gasp. Cameras flashed. The next morning's newspaper headline read, "Distinguished illusionist reveals more than magic." Retaliation was inevitable. Puddlewick consulted dusty tomes, muttering equations while his beard still hummed in subdued counterpoint. 2 nights later, every mirror in Vesperina's tower suite developed a snide personality. They offered wardrobe critiques, recommended less flamboyant hat feathers, and debated whether her left eyebrow arched too villainously. Worse, the back and forth followed her outside. Any reflective surface, from polished teaspoons to puddles, spoke its shiny mind. Vesperina fled across campus, pursued by heckling puddles that chanted, "Drama Queen! Drama Queen!" By month's end, classes were a minefield. The junior alchemy cohort arrived one morning to find their cauldrons waddling in circles, singing barbershop harmonies about sulfur. The next afternoon, a gaggle of textbooks sprouted wings and swooped over the quadrangle, pelting passers-by with pop quizzes. Students learned to carry umbrella shields and walk in zigzags. The dean convened an emergency arbitration. Puddlewick and Vesperina sat at opposite ends of a long mahogany table, glaring over piles of disciplinary parchment. The dean cleared his throat. "You are pillars of this institution," he began. "Pillow forts, maybe," muttered Mr. Grunt, polishing a brass candelabrum that now occasionally burped fireworks. "Enough!" the dean snapped. "One more incident, and both of you will teach remedial wand safety to first years until retirement." Puddlewick and Vesperina exchanged horrified looks. Remedial wand safety involved endless lectures about holding the wand away from the face. Worse, the first years habitually practiced sneeze spells in the back row. Peace lasted exactly 3 days. On the fourth sunrise, Vesperina discovered that the constellation illusion projected on her ceiling, the one she used to navigate astral currents, had been rearranged. The stars now spelled, "Archie was here." In retaliation, she enchanted every stair in Puddlewick's tower, so that downward steps ascended and upward steps descended, looping him in Asherian torment for hours. From that chaos sprouted the thing that nearly destroyed Arcadia, the infinite jest, Hex. Legend claimed it was invented centuries ago by court fools who grew tired of being beheaded after mediocre punchlines. The Hex laid a recursive enchantment on a target, causing any joke played upon it to double back on the caster with amplified comic effect, unless correctly countered before dawn. Neither Vesperina nor Puddlewick knew the full legend. They'd skimmed only footnotes, each secretly thought, "A spell that rebounds on my rival. Excellent." Both cast it on the other, simultaneously one blustery Friday evening. Magic spiraled through the college like twin hurricanes made of rubber chickens. At first, the results were riotously funny. Puddlewick tried to swap Vesperina's tea for swamp water. Instead, his own teacup screamed in frog croaks and bit his nose. Vesperina attempted to turn his quills into feathered snakes. Hers grew fangs and hissed romantic poetry at her ankles. The faculty laughed, thinking the pair finally hoist with their own petards. Then the hexes began stacking. Each rebound created 2 new rebound triggers, which generated 4, then 8, until by midnight, every prank attempted anywhere on campus ricocheted unpredictably among walls, statues, and furniture. The self-playing harpsichord in the music hall started lobbing pies at passing scholars. Stone gargoyles traded gossip. The debate team's podium sprouted legs and charged, screaming into the library, where it collided with the index of forbidden limericks, releasing thousands of animated couplets that bounced like locusts, chanting, "There once was a wizard from..." Dean Balthazar collapsed under a swarm of limericks about his shiny head. First years barricaded themselves in the dining hall behind a wall of levitated mashed potatoes. Even Mr. Grunt's mop revolted, spelling rude words in soapy water. Real panic set in when the grand orrery, centerpiece of the astronomy courtyard, started rewinding planetary gears. Time hiccuped. Sunset stuttered back and forth like a stuck lantern slide. If dawn never arrived, the hexes would never reset. The joke, immortal, would grind reality into slapstick mush. Puddlewick and Vesperina, reluctantly united, retreated to the roof of the central spire, the only place not yet taken over by dancing furniture. Wind whipped their robes. Distant thunder boom-bawed like comedic drums. "This is your fault," they said simultaneously, then glared. Vesperina folded her arms. "If you hadn't spelled my skirt with barnyard acoustics, if you hadn't turned my beard into a traveling opera!" "Point is," she cut in, "the infinite jest Hex feeds on mutual antagonism. The more we try to outdo each other, the funnier the universe thinks it is, and the stronger it becomes." Puddlewick sighed, tugging a still humming beard string. "Then we must do the unthinkable, perform a cooperative joke." Lightning illuminated their tentative handshake. Plan 1. Combine their specialties, illusion and enchantment, to create a single, spectacular gag, aimed not at each other, but at the hex itself. They reasoned that if they built a joke so elaborately self-contained, it couldn't rebound. The paradox engine of the hex would stall. Of course, they were making this up as they went, but improvisation lay at the heart of real mischief. They descended the northeast turret, carefully, as stairs now alternated between soap and spikes of cotton candy. and entered the great hall. Furniture and limericks had formed a conga line. Puddlewick and Vesperina pushed through, bickering over supply lists. "Need fireworks?" said Puddlewick. "Need a giant rubber band," countered Vesperina. "Why?" he asked. "Because giant rubber bands are inherently funny." Hard to argue. They set up their workshop in the abandoned potions annex, now inhabited by sentient spoons. Puddlewick conjured a spectral drafting table. Vesperina summoned floating chalk. Together they sketched. Step 1. Fabricate the world's largest cream pie. Step 2. Conceal said pie within an illusory moon and hoist it above the campus via levitation crystals. Step 3. Lure the runaway podium, the harpsichord, and the stone gargoyles to assemble in front of the administrative archway by announcing free publicity portraits. Step 4. When assembled, trigger the cream pie lunar eclipse, splatting the troublemakers and, symbolically, the hex's comedic energy reservoir. Step 5. As the pie descends, both wizards whisper a nullifying pun at exactly midnight, sealing the deal. "Is it ridiculous enough?" Puddlewick wondered. Vesperina nodded gravely. "Ridiculous is our only hope." They raided the kitchens for flour, conjured milk from passing clouds, and whipped up enough custard to flood a small province. 11 clockwork golems rolled the gargantuan pie crust. A brigade of animated egg beaters hummed. The annex windows steamed frosting sugar. Student volunteers, eager to survive the semester, helped paint the illusory lunar surface over the rigid crust. Meanwhile, Puddlewick fashioned levitation crystals, carving runes shaped like comedic masks. Vesperina braided a rope from her shimmering hair ribbons and a stolen length of Dean Balthazar's ceremonial sash. She tied this to the giant rubber band, stretching it across the courtyard like a slingshot aimed at the stars. By 1:45, the cream pie moon hovered over the bell tower, glowing with pale cheesecake luminescence. The runaway podium arrived first, still furious, toppling benches. The harpsichord clattered beside it, plunking ominous chords. Gargoyles descended, gossiping about who looked better in granite. Limericks fluttered overhead like naughty butterflies. Puddlewick cupped his hands. His beard boomed through amplification charms. "Free portraits for tomorrow's front page! Look absurdly heroic!" The enchanted items preened beneath the archway. Gargoyles flexed wings. The podium polished its wood grain with its lectern cloth, and the harpsichord applied extra lacquer. Vesperina signaled. Arcadian moonlight dimmed. The illusory cream pie moon drifted into eclipse position. At the final moment, she released the rubber band. Pie plunged. Thunk! Splork! Kerr! Smeelch! Custard cascaded in glorious slow motion. Limericks drowned mid-rhyme. Gargoyles gaped, faces dripping cream. The podium stood transfixed, frosting letters spelling apology across its surface. In the hush that followed, even the infinite jest hex paused, savoring comedic perfection. Midnight tolled. 12 resonant chimes. On the 12th, Puddlewick and Vesperina faced each other, inhaled, and spoke the ancient pun simultaneously. Custard's last stand. Magic rippled. The air smelled of citrus punchlines. One by one, pranks unwound. The harpsichord settled. Spoons stilled. Mirrors went mute with shame. The conga line dispersed into ordinary furniture. Time resumed its proper forward march. Dawn cracked prawns of rosy light over the eastern hills. The cream pie moon deflated like a satisfied sigh, landing softly atop the statue of founder Zoltabar, who at last sported something approximating a smile under layers of meringue. Students peeked from hiding. Applause started with tentative gloved hands, grew and became an ovation so large the ground itself vibrated. Puddlewick bowed. Vesperina curtsied, each pretending indifference to the cheers while secretly soaking up every drop. Dean Balthazar, draped in soggy pastry, trudged forward. You have saved the college. Also ruined my sash. Puddlewick produced a handkerchief. Small price for cosmic equilibrium. The dean sighed. Fine. No remedial wand safety. On one condition. You will henceforth direct your mischievous energies into officially sanctioned campus festivities only. Clear. Crystal. They chorused, fingers crossed behind backs. Mr. Grunt approached, mop in hand. Shockingly, the mop spoke first. I never want to see frosting again. Grunt shrugged. Join the club. Within days, order returned. Classes resumed. The library corralling limericks back into their pages became a favorite field trip. The beard opera retired from public performance to enthusiastic, if secret, student disappointment. Vesperina's robes quack free, though occasionally they emitted a lonely honk on rainy nights. Faculty gossip claimed the prankster pair had mellowed. True, neither cast overt spells at the other. Instead, they left each other courteous notes, like, "Your lecture on spectral diffraction was dazzling, almost as bright as your forehead glare," signed with flourish. When students asked for help, the wizards appeared together, trading wisecracks while demonstrating advanced wand work. Yet mischief simmered. The college's Founders' Day loomed, a festival renowned for parades, fireworks, and tradition-steeped pageantry. The dean, hoping to avoid catastrophe, assigned Puddlewick and Vesperina joint responsibility for decorating the main float. They stood amid crates of enchanted streamers, sharing an identical sly grin. Vesperina twirled a spool of glitter tape. Do you think the dean's ultimatum forbids us from surprising the city? Puddlewick stroked his quiet beard. He merely said, campus festivities. The parade route technically leaves campus for 5 blocks. Their voices lowered in conspiratorial harmony, weaving possibilities of color-changing confetti storms, marching band instruments that told jokes between songs, tamed thunderclouds releasing harmless lightning shaped like smiley faces. From the roof, Mr. Grunt watched them scheme. He sighed, though his eyes twinkled. Cheese'll always stink if you leave it out, he muttered. But some folks are born mice. He propped his mop against the gable and went in search of a larger bucket.